Babe Ruth's hidden tears. Babe Ruth hears the news about Lou Gehrig's diagnosis and does something nobody expects. He cries, not the public tears of a performer, but the private grief of a man who's losing his greatest teammate. What happens in their final conversation doesn't just end a friendship. It reveals the heart of a legend and changes how the world sees both men forever. New York City, June 2nd, 1939. Thursday evening, 7:15 p.m. The Insonia Hotel, Upper West Side, Manhattan. Babe Ruth sits in his spacious suite, still wearing his pinstripe suit from an afternoon meeting with Columbia Pictures. At 44 years old, he's been retired from baseball for 4 years, but his larger-than-life personality continues to open doors in Hollywood and business. The Sultan of Swat, the Bambino, the most famous athlete in America, even without a uniform. But tonight, none of that matters. Tonight, Babe Ruth is just a man who's received the worst news about his friend. The phone call came 20 minutes ago. Joe McCarthy, Yankees manager, calling to tell Babe what the organization learned that morning from Lou Gehrig himself. Lou has ALS. Terminal diagnosis. 2 to 5 years. The Iron Horse. The most dependable man in baseball. The teammate who made Babe's legendary career possible through 14 seasons of perfect consistency, is dying of a disease nobody can pronounce and nobody can cure. McCarthy delivered the news with typical managerial directness, but Babe could hear the strain in his voice. The Yankees family is devastated. The organization is reeling. Lou specifically asked McCarthy to call Babe personally, rather than let him read about it in tomorrow's newspapers. A gesture of respect that makes the news even more painful to process. Babe walks to the window overlooking Broadway. The city bustles below with its usual Thursday evening energy. Cars honking, people rushing home from work, neon signs beginning to flicker on. Normal life continuing as if Lou Gehrig isn't dying. Babe presses his forehead against the cool glass and feels something he hasn't experienced since his mother died when he was 19. Complete helplessness. For a man who spent his adult life believing he could overcome any obstacle through force of personality and talent, the realization that he can't fix this, can't help Lou, hits him like a fastball to the chest. The tears start slowly. A single drop rolling down his cheek, then another. Babe Ruth, who's cried publicly exactly twice in his career. Once when he retired, and once during his farewell speech at Yankee Stadium, begins to sob in the privacy of his hotel suite. Deep, wrenching sobs that shake his large frame, the kind of crying that comes from somewhere deeper than sadness, from a place of genuine loss and regret. Not for the cameras, not for the fans, not for the newspapers that have documented every public moment of his life for 25 years. Just for Lou. For the quiet, dignified man who played first base behind him, who drove in the runs that made Babe's home runs meaningful, who never sought the spotlight but deserved it more than anyone else who ever put on a uniform. Babe remembers their first meeting in 1923. Lou was 20 years old, a college kid from Columbia, nervous and overwhelmed by his first major league clubhouse. Babe was already larger than life, already the most famous athlete in America. He could have ignored the rookie. Instead, something about Lou's quiet intensity impressed him. The kid didn't ask for autographs or act starstruck. He just worked harder than anyone else, studied the game with academic precision, treated every at-bat like a final exam. Babe took him under his wing, not because Lou needed protection, but because Lou reminded him of what pure love for baseball looked like before fame complicated everything. They were never close friends in the traditional sense. Babe was loud, extroverted, the life of every party. Lou was quiet, private, more comfortable reading than hitting nightclubs. But for 14 seasons, they formed the heart of the most dominant lineup in baseball history. Babe batting third, Lou batting fourth. The Sultan of Swat and the Iron Horse. Babe would hit towering home runs. Then Lou would deliver the clutch hit that actually won the game. Babe got the headlines. Lou got the job done. Together, they won 7 pennants and 4 World Series championships. Together, they redefined excellence in professional sports. But somewhere along the way, the relationship became complicated. Not by animosity, but by natural drift that happens when very different personalities share space for too long. The media began portraying them as opposites, not just in style but in character, suggesting Lou represented everything noble about baseball, while Babe represented everything problematic. It wasn't true, but perception became reality. They stopped socializing, started treating each other more like colleagues than friends. Professional respect remained, but warmth faded into polite distance. When Babe retired in 1935, their goodbye was cordial but not emotional. A handshake, a few words, a promise to stay in touch that neither man intended to keep. They saw each other occasionally at old-timers games, exchanged pleasantries, asked about families. The friendship had evolved into mutual professional admiration between two men whose careers intersected magnificently, but who no longer had much in common beyond shared history. Now sitting in his hotel suite with tears streaming down his face, Babe realizes he's been a fool. All the petty ego conflicts, all the media-manufactured tensions, all the years of polite distance, none of it matters now. Lou is dying and Babe has wasted 4 years pretending their friendship ended when he retired. Lou Gehrig made him a better player and teammate, and Babe let pride prevent him from acknowledging that debt. Babe walks to his telephone and dials the operator. "I need to reach Lou Gehrig in the Bronx, Riverdale. I don't have the number, but it's urgent." The operator puts him on hold while she searches. 5 minutes pass. 10. Babe paces his suite, still in his business suit, tie loosened, hair disheveled from running his hands through it. He rehearses what he wants to say, then discards every planned speech as inadequate. How do you apologize for years of prideful distance when time is running out? How do you tell someone they matter when you've spent 4 years acting like they don't? Finally, the phone rings. "I have Mr. Gehrig on the line. Go ahead, please." "Lou, it's Babe." Pause. Surprised but not awkward. They haven't spoken privately in over 2 years. "Hello, Babe. I wasn't expecting to hear from you tonight." "Lou, I just heard. Joe McCarthy called me. I wanted to talk to you. I figured the word would get around quickly. I should have called you myself." "Don't apologize, Lou. I'm calling to apologize to you." "For what?" "For being an idiot for the last 4 years. For letting stupid ego stuff get between us. For not being the friend you deserved." "Babe, we're fine. We've always been fine." "No, we haven't. We used to be friends, real friends, and I let that slip away because I was too proud to admit I missed having you around. I missed talking baseball with you." Lou is quiet for a moment. When he speaks, his voice is softer, more personal. "I missed that too, Babe. More than I probably let on." "Lou, can I come see you tonight? I need to say some things in person that I should have said years ago." "Eleanor and I would be happy to see you. Give me an hour." 8:45 p.m. The Gehrig home on Delafield Avenue in Riverdale. Babe's taxi pulls into the driveway of the modest 2-story house. He's been here before, years ago, for a team barbecue during the 1932 season. He remembers thinking then that the house perfectly reflected Lou's personality: comfortable, well-maintained, unpretentious, built for function rather than show. The kind of place where a man could raise a family and find peace away from the chaos of fame. The porch light is on, warm light, glowing through living room windows. It looks like home in a way his hotel suite never could, like a place where real life happens instead of just performance and celebrity. Eleanor answers the door before Babe can knock. She's wearing a simple blue dress, hair pinned back, no makeup. She looks tired, but manages a genuine smile. "Hello, Babe. It's been too long." "Hello, Eleanor. You look wonderful." Lou's in the living room. "Can I get you coffee?" "Coffee would be perfect." Lou sits in a leather armchair reading. He looks up when Babe enters and sets the book aside. "You found it okay?" "Yeah, no problem." Babe settles into the couch, suddenly aware of how different his friend looks. Not dramatically different, but there's something in his eyes that wasn't there before. A knowledge of mortality that changes everything about a person's expression. "How are you feeling, Lou?" "Really feeling." "Physically?" "Not too bad yet. Some weakness in my hands, occasional coordination problems. Nothing that significantly affects daily life. Emotionally, that's more complicated." Eleanor brings coffee and settles beside Lou, reaching for his hand. Babe notices Lou accepts comfort without self-consciousness. The Lou he knew was always uncomfortable with public displays of affection. This Lou has learned to accept comfort when offered. Lou, I came to tell you things I should have said years ago. Things I was too stupid and proud to say when we were teammates. You don't need to do this, babe. Yeah, I do, because if I don't say them now, I might not get another chance. Babe leans forward. Lou, you were the best teammate I ever had. Not just because you were a great player, because you made everyone around you better. You made me better. I don't think that's true. It is true. You want to know why I had my best years when you were hitting behind me? Because I knew you'd drive me in if I got on base. I knew you'd pick me up if I struck out. I knew you'd be there every single day. That kind of reliability changes how you approach every at-bat. Eleanor squeezes Lou's hand, tears forming in her eyes. But it was more than baseball. Babe continues. You showed me what professionalism looked like, what dignity looked like. I was always making headlines for wrong reasons. You never lectured me, never made me feel judged. But watching you made me want to be better. Babe, you brought joy to the game in ways I never could. Maybe, but I brought chaos too. You brought stability. You brought class. Between the two of us, your way was better. That's not true. Baseball needs personalities like yours. You understood that better than anyone. See, even now facing what you're facing, you're more concerned about making me feel good than accepting a compliment. That's who you are, Lou. That's why you're a better man than I am. The room falls quiet. Eleanor wipes tears. Lou stares at his hands. Lou, there's something else. I let our friendship drift away after I retired. And that was wrong. But the truth is, I was jealous. Jealous of what? Of how much everyone respected you. Of how clean your reputation was. I was the famous one. But you were the admired one. That's harder to live with than I expected. Lou looks directly at Babe. You want to know something funny? I was jealous of you too. Of me, why? Because everything came so easily to you. The hitting, the personality, the way fans loved you. I had to work for every achievement. You just walked into a room and owned it. Eleanor speaks up quietly. You're both idiots. Sorry, but you are. You spent 14 years being the greatest 1-2 punch in baseball history, and you're arguing about who had it easier? You complemented each other perfectly. Babe laughs genuinely for the first time since McCarthy's call. She's right, Lou. We are idiots. Yeah, we are. Lou smiles. Babe, can I tell you something? I'm scared. The admission hangs in the air. This is Lou Gehrig admitting vulnerability. Of course you're scared. Anyone would be. Not just of dying, of not mattering, of being forgotten, of having my career reduced to this disease. Lou, that will never happen. You're the Iron Horse. People will remember 2,130 consecutive games, 1,500 RBIs, being the greatest first baseman who ever lived. But what if they don't? Babe leans forward, voice intense and certain. Then I'll spend the rest of my life making sure they remember everything else. I promise you that, Lou. As long as I'm alive, people will know who you were as a player and as a man. Lou's eyes are wet, though he maintains composure. There's one more thing, Babe says. Playing alongside you for 14 years was the greatest honor of my career. Not the home runs, not the World Series, not individual awards. Playing with you. Being your teammate. That's what I'm most proud of. Lou stands slowly and extends his hand. Thank you for coming tonight. Babe ignores the outstretched hand, pulling Lou into a bear hug. They hold each other tightly. Two legends saying goodbye, two friends healing years of distance in a single moment. When they separate, both men are crying without shame. You take care of yourself, Lou, and you take care of this wonderful woman. I will, and Babe, thank you for being my friend. Then and now. 2 months later, on July 4th, 1939, Babe Ruth stands beside Lou Gehrig at home plate during Lou Gehrig Appreciation Day. He listens to Lou's luckiest man speech and understands that his friend has transformed tragedy into gratitude. When Lou finishes speaking, Babe is the first to embrace him, while 62,000 people cheer and cry. True to his promise, Babe Ruth spends the remaining 9 years of his life talking about Lou Gehrig whenever anyone will listen. He tells stories about Lou's consistency, professionalism, clutch hitting when Babe himself dies in 1948. His final interview includes a story about Lou Gehrig's reliability and what it meant to play alongside greatness. The friendship that drifted apart in 1935 was fully restored in a single evening in June 1939. Two legends discovered their bond transcended baseball, that their respect had deepened rather than faded with time. Babe Ruth's hidden tears that night were recognition of what really mattered in a life spent pursuing fame. Not individual accomplishments, but relationships formed along the way. Not headlines, but quiet moments of mutual respect and genuine affection. Who in your life deserves to hear what you've been too proud to say? Who would benefit from knowing how much their friendship has meant to you? Because sometimes the most important conversations happen when time is running out, when pride becomes irrelevant, when all that matters is making sure people know exactly how you feel about them.